What's up, guys? Grab that coffee out. This is the AMZ Secret Show and your host, David Aladdin. We are live at the International Command Center, Outpost 39. It's also Podcast 39. I built the show to jump past the basics and into the real Amazon core. When the tough gets going, we never back down. I look to understand the person, their strategies, their secrets, so that all of us can build better, leaner businesses. Today's sponsor is AMZ Secret's Keyword King, a new tool inside of our VIP platform that allows a community to create more powerful, relevant keyword combinations while filling the 5,000 character allowable in your Amazon product backend, thus giving you more relevant traffic and ultimately more sales per day. And today on the show, we've got a special guest. Her name is Cynthia Stine. Cynthia Stine is a consultant, an Amazon seller, and the author of the award-winning book Suspension Prevention: Get Reinstated and Protect Your Amazon Seller Account. She helps sellers clean up their accounts and avoid problems with Amazon. Thanks for coming on the show, Cynthia. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Basically, like you said, I'm a seller. I started selling in 2010, and very part-time. I just needed to make a little extra income for my family, about $1,500 a month, and which I did very quickly, selling on Amazon, and I wrote a book, thousands on Amazon in 10 hours a week, where I taught people what I did my first year in online sales. And besides the book, I also had some consulting that I did, and here and there, and I did some classes and training, and I would take people on shopping trips. That was really fun. In 2014, I started getting people coming to me who had been suspended, and they said, "Can you help us get reinstated?" And so I did. I started getting, I started working with them to get reinstated, and I learned a lot. And so in 2015, in February, I got my little shingle online, and I said, "Hey, I'll help you get reinstated." And it's like the doors blew off.
Can I stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
What'd you do before 2010?
Oh, before 2010, I was a business consultant. For 25 years, I've done everything from crisis communications, turnaround work, public relations, marketing. I was also a small independent book publisher, and I still help previous clients get books published. So, I had a background of being a business consultant, and so I understand how companies and how they get out. So what I was saying is that I was I kind of put out my notice to the other Amazon sellers that I was now handling reinstatements, and the doors just blew off. Like, I had no idea, because coincidentally at the same time, Amazon had just done a major tweak to the algorithm. And so suddenly a lot of people were getting suspended who had never been in trouble with Amazon before. And last summer at this time, we were going through absolute hell. We had so many sellers that were suspended. And
How many sellers would you say that you were serving got suspended?
Well, we served over 400 sellers last year.
Okay.
From April till December.
Wow, so 400 people got suspended. That's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
That you were serving, and that's not including all the people that were actually suspended and that didn't reach out. Okay.
Correct. Or that they used competitors of mine, or whatever, or got themselves reinstated. So yeah, there were a lot of people suspended, and so I frantically began building up my consulting practice so that we could handle the demand. And today we have 8 people in the U.S., consultants mostly, and we have 18 in the Philippines, mostly analysts and administrative support. So the company has grown very quickly, and the demand is still there. Like, people are still getting suspended right and left, because Amazon keeps tweaking the algorithm, and we always know when they've made a change, because we'll suddenly get 3 or 4 suspensions like within a day of each other, all for the same thing. And so we're like, oh, I guess they're working on this today.
That's interesting. So it's their suspension is automatically done by an algorithm that pushes out. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So it's all,
Okay.
I mean, I use the imagery of robots because I think that's more like people get that more than an algorithm. I mean, what does an algorithm look like? But basically, yes, it's fully automated. And so what happens is it doesn't reach a human
Skynet.
until...
No, Skynet. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't reach a human until they send you the email. There is a human that pushes the send button, but they're not looking at your account. They're just simply informing you, and then nobody looks at your situation at all until you turn in your appeal. So that's what's so frustrating to so many Amazon sellers is they'll get suspended, and nobody looks at their account at all. I mean, until they turn in an appeal. And so there's a lot of innocent fish that get caught up with the big net. I mean, the algorithm is actually pretty good, but there's still always some cases where they make mistakes. And so, of course, that's frustrating to sellers. And in that time, because so many people were getting suspended, I also wrote the book Suspension Prevention, because I wanted as many people as possible to know what was going on so they could be proactive on their accounts and maybe not get suspended. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, what has happened. And I think that my team, we're really well positioned for this business because we are all former business consultants. And 5 of us are sellers ourselves. So we also understand, exactly what our clients are feeling and going through. We're so anal and obsessive about our own accounts, you can't imagine.
No, I'm actually very obsessive about making sure my metrics are on point. What are the fishnets that Amazon has placed down that will automatically get you suspended if you get into that fishnet scenario?
One of the nets that gets a lot of people is inauthentic complaints. And this one is particularly frustrating because, anybody can say that something is inauthentic, fake, bogus, a knockoff. And some people they'll do it either as a competitive tactic, like a competitor may buy a product from you and then say, oh, this is bogus. Or it may be, again, just a buyer who says something because they want free shipping back. So they choose, that it's inauthentic as a reason. And, the problem is you have to deal with it, right? The seller has to deal with it and prove to Amazon that your product is not inauthentic. And usually you get a few of these a year that you can have. And then what happens is you get too many of them, they suspend you. So that's very frustrating because there is actually very little a seller can do about that except be prepared to answer every single inauthentic complaint with a legitimate invoice.
And that's invoices from the manufacturer or wholesaler?
Or authorized reseller or distributor. So the problem a lot of my clients have is that they might be doing retail arbitrage. And depending on where they got their merchandise, either the receipt may not be detailed enough, like say from a Marshall's or a TJ Maxx, or it may be that it's from an online source, like maybe they're doing online arbitrage, and Amazon has decided not to accept many of those digital receipts just because they are digital and are so easily manipulated. So that's a real problem for my clients. I've even had a client who was buying from the Disney store, .com. And we got them back eventually, but we had to, really push it hard and explain, and we had to produce a packing slip so that we could prove that the product had actually been delivered to them. It was a mess. And so and again, this has all evolved over time. So a year ago, any receipt that was detailed enough was accepted. Now they've kind of swung the other way, and they're not hardly accepting anything unless, it's, a very clear receipt. Like they still take Target, Tuesday morning, Walmart receipts. But for the most part, people who are doing retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, are going to find it very tough to defend themselves against inauthentic. And then people who buy from large liquidators, the same thing. They are not accepting any invoices from liquidators, pretty much. There's a few that they do seem to accept, and it may just be because they're sufficiently detailed. But for the most part, they don't. So
pretty much don't sell liquidation items on Amazon.
Not unless you're very clear where you're getting it from. Like, I do have some clients that buy directly from the manufacturer. They're buying overstocks, or, just stuff they're getting rid of. And that is fine because they have an invoice from that manufacturer that says, we sold 10,000 units to XYZ company. And that
makes sense.
That's okay. But when they're buying, the way most liquidation is done is these guys go in, they buy truckloads of merchandise from these retail stores, and then they sell them by the truckload. So there's really no way for somebody to backtrack and swear to God that this item actually came from a legitimate source. And it is actually commonly done by people in that business where there will be mixed in, counterfeit or stolen goods, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's really no way that anybody can tell that that's what's happened, but that is what's happened. So that's why Amazon won't accept them. And, I have a client who was suspended today. Last night, actually, he called me, but...
what's their, if possible, what's their volume?
My volume?
No, their volume.
Oh, they're enormous. They're doing a couple of million a month.
Oh, wow, that is enormous. It's nice to know what kind of sellers Amazon is banning. This is a very large volume seller, but Amazon just suspends them automatically. It doesn't really phase them when it's that large. So
that's right, and that's the thing. It is not. And actually, if you think about it, the larger volume sellers are actually a greater liability for Amazon. So if they are bad apples, right, and they are selling counterfeit or stolen goods, then because of the volume they're pushing, Amazon's actually basically pushing out a higher volume of counterfeit and stuff. So
I see.
They're actually, I think, a little tougher on the big guys. It's just my perception. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't matter what size you are. If Amazon thinks that you're getting too many of these complaints, they'll shut you down. And so I've had little tiny accounts that are maybe doing a couple thousand a month, and I've had huge clients that are doing millions, some that are doing $1 million a week. And so, that's the thing. And with inauthentic, it's really tough. That's one that's very hard to prevent, except being very careful about where you're getting your inventory, and making sure that your inventory is in really good condition. Because sometimes a lot of these complaints are perception issues by the buyer. So they might get something that's showing some shelf wear, maybe has like the corners are a little bit worn or something like that. So it's not like pristine and shiny, brand new, even though the box has never been opened. And so they'll complain and they'll say, oh, it's used, sold as new, or it's counterfeit, or whatever. Or it may be that they're selling a version of that product that is from a year or two ago. So the picture on Amazon is of today's version, right? Mm-hmm. But they're selling last year's version. And so there's confusion there. And then people think, oh, this is a knockoff. So a lot of times what we're doing with our clients is helping them understand why the buyer is complaining and fixing the problem. It's like fixing the listing or, making sure you're sending in perfect inventory and discarding the rest. And so it's getting people to actually change how they do business in order to, provide the best possible experience for Amazon's buyer. And, I think every client we get, basically they come to us, they originally think, I don't know what the hell Amazon wants, right? I don't know, I do everything right. It's a usual position.
Yeah.
And so we have to work with them a little bit to help them see that there are ways they could make improvements. And when they do it, it's actually quite dramatic. We've had a lot of clients really just clean up their accounts to where they're squeaky clean and they hardly ever get any complaints whatsoever. And so I would tell people who are out there listening to this that if you think that getting complaints and upset buyers is just part of doing business, I will tell you that it is not. And that's Amazon's position as well, because I have seen sellers reduce their complaints by dramatic amounts in just a few weeks. And then they're like, oh, I see why Amazon was upset, because I could have achieved this all along.
Interesting.
So just keep that in mind.
I have another interesting question. When a seller gets suspended, is it the brand that gets suspended or the seller account that gets suspended?
It's the entire seller account.
Okay, but like in regards to like if, let's say, a lot of our listeners are private label sellers, so if a seller got suspended, let's say in theory, their brand would still be alive, all their product listings would be up, unless it was like a product issue.
Well, it would be alive if somebody else was selling your product, but if you're selling your product, no, they're gone. So that's what I'm saying. When they shut you down, everything you sell is gone.
Okay.
So the listing might still be active if, again, you have interlopers on your listing, in the case of private label, or you're just sharing the listing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the other guys are still selling their stuff, but you're out of there. So
interesting. I'm actually thinking, and I'm sure this has happened, where a private label seller gets suspended and then they just create another account.
Well, that sounds easy, doesn't it? Let's just create another account. Except it's not. Amazon uses 28 different techniques to track down people who opens
multiple accounts. Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah. So IP address is only one. Email address is only one. And most people are smart enough to avoid those two. But there's actually a whole bunch. And I can't tell you how many people have done exactly what you said, and they failed. Amazon caught them within a week and it shut them down.
Well, it's good to know. It's good to know. Well, it's good for the listeners to know not to do that, or just a basic layout. Have a better strategy going into that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're working with someone like me to get your account reinstated, don't go and sabotage our efforts by opening another account.
Agreed. Yeah.
Now, if you've given up, if you're like, Amazon's never going to suspend me, sure, I have clients who do that. I have clients who have successfully opened and run second, third, fourth, fifth accounts on Amazon. So they know the magic sauce, whatever it is, but I don't. That's not what I do. I keep people in the light, as it were. But there are other people who will teach you how to set up another account if you need to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I kind of want to jump back because I didn't want to interrupt you when we were talking about the business side, but you said you had a lot of issues scaling up. Can you tell us more about some of the ways you were able to scale up your business and with the 18 admin staff that you hired, and more specifics about that?
Sure. So I realized that we were going to need help. And I looked at the kind of work that we had to do, and some of it was very repetitive, administrative, could easily be done over the internet. And so I looked to build a team up in the Philippines. That's also where my marketing team is, and my receptionist is there. And we're all on a Vonage phone system, so she answers the phone. But I realized what I needed. And I went to the Philippines. I've had a
That's awesome.
I've had a virtual assistant for 5 years.
The same one?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Long before I started this stuff. So I went to her and I'm like, I need to build up a team in the Philippines, but I know that I can't just go and hire onesie twosies. There's too much to do. Like, I understand as a business owner that there's, making sure the technology is there, having an office, having backup generators because the power goes out a lot in the Philippines. All the ins and outs, setting up a system where my client's data is secure. I mean, I was very specific. I knew what I needed, and she went and helped me find a company that I could build that with, a company that was already a VA company, but that didn't have an Amazon division. So I said to them, I'm going to build up this huge division for you, but you only work for me.
That's awesome.
If I ever leave, however, you will have an amazingly trained team. And so we've had a great relationship. They were able to scale up quickly and train people quickly. And Shem, my woman on the ground, she's in there every day making sure that they are doing what needs to be done for our clients. New people are being hired in a timely way. I mean, I couldn't do it. I could not do it without her. And so that's how we were able to scale up as quickly as we were, because we partnered with a company that already had done all the work of getting things set up. If we'd had to start from scratch, I couldn't have done it. And then in the U.S., I brought in people that I've worked with before, so people I knew and trusted, and I trained them on Amazon because I figured that would be easier than trying to find somebody I trusted, basically, and that would know Amazon well enough. So it was interesting. So some of my people are people I've worked with for 20 years, and some of my people are other Amazon sellers who are also consultants that I brought in. And it's been great. I mean, my team is really awesome, and we share information and we strategize together on difficult cases. And so having a team really makes us more effective for our clients. But again, I don't think I could have done it if I had not built up and run, 3 businesses before.
I always love hearing how people scale their businesses up. I think, at least me personally, I think that's the trickiest part of building a business. These businesses can grow very fast, and then all of a sudden you have all this work to do, and you got to figure out how to distribute all the tasks that need to be done, and you want to make sure you're getting the right people to do it.
Right. Well, and I will also add that technology is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
So I use this program called Infusionsoft, and I've been using them since my first book came out, so I guess 2011, 2012, and somewhere in there. And it's a workhorse. It's amazing what it can do. But every time I think of a task that's repetitive, I find a way to automate it. And so what happens is when somebody signs up and comes into our system, their work just moves along, right? It just moves along from one person to the next person. It goes, the assessment goes out to the Philippines, and then it comes back to us and gets assigned to a consultant. And all of these many myriad steps that would be so tedious to have to do manually over and over again are fully automated. And that's part of what's helped us scale as well. So I would recommend to anybody looking to scale from 0 to hero in a year that they have a really good technology system that they invest in. Don't do piecemeal. Don't go and say, well, I'll put together a chimp monkey and I'll have this program over here. And no.
It's actually kind of what I've been doing.
Oh, sorry.
I've pieced together, it's at least 10, 15 different subscriptions into a makeshift suite, I'd call it, and then they all work together, but they're not interconnected. There's nothing that, I don't know if anyone's ever going to invent something that can connect everything together,
That's what Infusionsoft is. That's what I'm saying. It's an all-in-one. It's my marketing, my CRM, my task assignment, my money.
What do people do if they already have like all this stuff in place? Transition into like an Infusionsoft would take a lot of, for example, I like right now I sequence all my emails for many of my businesses in MailChimp, and there's sequential emails in there, and I guess I'm just reluctant just to copy all the email lists and all the sequence data over. Maybe I'm just being lazy, but getting all that stuff perfectly correct to begin with took a lot of time,
It's not as hard as you think. I mean, but yes, you do have to import it, but as far as getting your tags set up and doing your campaign sequences, you'd probably be amazed at what Infusionsoft could do for you, because you're probably doing a simple campaign.
But by the way, for all the people listening, neither of us, well, I don't think you're affiliated to Infusionsoft, are you?
No, I'm not.
Neither of us are affiliated at all. Can we talk more about Infusionsoft for a bit?
Sure.
What does it do for your business?
So what it does with my business is it handles the customer from beginning to end. So it handles customer acquisition. So all of my marketing campaigns, my forms, my my everything. Sign up for my newsletter, get my free this. All my everything goes through Infusionsoft. And then when people purchase, so if they get a freebie or they get in my system, they're going to get some marketing sequences, right? And then if they buy something, maybe they buy my book or they buy a service from me, then they're tagged, they move through my system, tasks are assigned to different people, and
I see. So like
groups.
when someone literally buys, let's say your book, you can send them into an email list, and then you can also send them to, let's say, like a sales consultant, or it creates a new task for one of your virtual assistants to do. It can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
Yes,
awesome. Because then I can
really,
see how you can scale that really fast.
yeah. So it's really great because that way I can, again, I can just automate it, set it up once and forget it. I can create, a long drip campaign, for the people who, because I give away free chat. I have a bunch of freebies, to get people in my system. And so I can give away some content and keep in touch with them without having to think about it. You set it and forget it. And then, like I said, once they buy something, then they're entered into the whole system. So the payment is taken care of, the tags that that they're tagged with. They can access my membership site and get, free access to information there. They can, or paid if they've paid for it. They can, again, they'll get the services that they've signed up for. And I mean, it's even down to the level of, they'll get an email from us saying, okay, Cynthia is going to be working on your account with you. Here's her schedule. Set a time for her to go over this with you. I mean, so I don't have to think about it. Appointments just show up on my calendar, and then I deal with it then.
Today's sponsor is AMZ Secrets Keyword King. What if you could sell 10 more units per day on Amazon, or 100 more units per day? The key to selling more on Amazon is driving more traffic to your Amazon listing that's related to your listing. Reviews help, yes. Quality photos help, yes. However, increasing relevant traffic is king. The only way to sell 100 more units per day is having at least 100 more people visit your listing per day. Keyword King leverages smart algorithms to assist you in building the best keyword lists for all your products.
So
see, before I called you, I knew you were like the anti-suspension person to go to, but I didn't know all the systems that were running behind the scenes. So it's always cool to I feel like these are like the secrets of the behind the businesses, which is really cool to understand. I see Infusionsoft's prices though. Do you find? I mean, I'm guessing you pay $5.99 a month over that, maybe more.
Well, I've been using it for a long time. So I was grandfathered in under a different plan.
Oh, I see. That's awesome.
So I actually have what I would guess today would be their most expensive package, but I'm not paying that much for it. So I don't even know what I would pay if I had to sign up again today. But I do know that it's worth every penny, and we do spend a lot because we have a membership site. I have some add-on software, the appointment core, which integrates our calendars and our schedules, all these different things. Everything adds. Plus, you pay per license, right? So I have, you get X number of users for X price, but I have 10, 12 people on it right now. So that cost as well. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I look at the cost and I look at what it does for us, and there's really no question that this is what I need to do.
True. Just FYI, because I find the price very high. It's $600 a month, and that's if you have 10 team members, and right. you actually have more than that. So
yeah, I'm paying closer to $800 or $900 a month.
Okay.
But you need to understand that I'm running $100,000 plus a month through that program.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's really a drop in the bucket. It's less than 1%.
I guess all the memberships that I'm connected into probably add up into it's high because I mean with servers and everything, I'm easily over 2,000 a month amongst all the different services and suites that I'm subscribed to.
Yeah, so you might find that it actually is comparable. Maybe. I mean, you'd have to check for yourself. And the thing is, because it's integrated,
Yeah.
And it really does save us time. And the thing is, it just makes things possible. Like, I do these dinners. Every time I travel somewhere, I try to do a dinner. And I invite people and sellers, clients, people who are going to be at the conference that I'm at, etc. And I set up a little RSVP system. It's fully automated. They RSVP. They get reminder emails, with the details. So I don't have to think about it, and I'm not taking dozens of last-minute cell phone calls from people who are like, "Wait, what was that restaurant again?" But it's all, it's all set it and forget it. And then once you do a campaign, to duplicate it takes a minute. It's like, okay, and now we're going to change out, Chicago for Dallas. And here's the name of the restaurant. All you're doing is just changing it out, and it's really easy. So that's the kind of thing, like I said, that you can do more with your time and with fewer people. So I recently hired a director of marketing and 2 marketing people because previously I was doing it all myself.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how wonderful that is.
Oh man, I hate posting to like Instagram, and like I don't have time to just open up my phone, change a filter on the image, and I actually just hired out some marketing folks for Instagram too as well, so yeah, that feels good.
It makes a difference. And we use a program called CoScheduler, which again, not an affiliate. We've just started using that a couple months ago so that you can kind of like coordinate your content and when it's going to appear and where, and at the assigned time, it just posts.
Oh yeah, so that's cool.
It's like Hootsuite on steroids because it does a lot more than just Twitter and Facebook. It does LinkedIn. It does about 10 different social media sites. So Reddit.
Oh wow, that thing! I'm actually at the website right now. It looks pretty awesome. I use Meet Edgar. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But it allows for, like, let's say you only have 10 posts and you're tired of creating new content, and it does a loop. So it'll go and it randomizes it, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So you don't have to have someone always posting. Like, let's say you only have like 10 pieces of content. It'll just keep looping that content.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? Does that do that too? Do you know?
Yeah, it's the same concept.
Man, everyone's like building some crazy tools.
Yeah. So you have a library of content, and you can just basically decide, what you want, if you want it to loop, if you want to, or even if you just want to assign it all manually, but you can do it once. You can sit down for an hour, plan out the next couple of months, exactly when and where this content is going to appear, and then, like, you're done. And you don't have to think about it.
It's kind of annoying. I like CoSchedule better than the Meet Edgar, especially even in regards to the prices. And they allow you to have multiple users in your account, so you could have your VAs in there and stuff.
Yes, and that's exactly what I do. I don't do it myself. I let them handle it. They know what I'm trying to do. And so right now they've been recycling a lot of my old blog posts. So I'm always startled when I see, some old content pop up again on my fan page or somewhere else. I'm like, oh, hey, it's working.
That's yeah. What about the content market strategy? Let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go back into suspensions.
Okay.
What kind of strategy are you deploying for social media? Because there's all sorts of different ways to do it.
Well, obviously I say obviously, but I guess I should say my blog has been and still is my number one source of new business. So people, we do SEO and all that, but people read my blog posts and then they want to hire me. And so I write a lot, obviously, about the topic. I include new things that are coming up. And so that is like my number one source of business. So promoting the blog, getting the blog out, putting out new posts, putting posts in Reddit, putting, stuff like that. I think we've just started posting them in LinkedIn as well. That that kind of thing is a good use of my content, right? Because that's what gets people to hire us. I also do a lot of guest posts. I do obviously webinars and
podcasts,
talk to people,
yeah.
and I speak a lot.
Yeah.
So I try to get all of that coordinated together, so that basically, though, my content is what gets people in the door, and so I try to keep it fresh and post it out there and get people to know who I am.
How is Reddit working for you?
It seems to be helping just because it's going to a different audience.
Mm-hmm. One of the sites I run is killing it on Reddit. Different type of website. It's more for artists and stuff. But it drives like 50,000. It can drive like 50,000 people into the website like a week. Like pretty crazy numbers.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
well,
it's more general though, so I guess
I don't have the numbers right now.
Yeah.
My guy will give them to me at the end of the month, but I know it's worthwhile because people read it. I read stuff on Reddit.
I do too.
So I'm like, yeah. But for a long time, because it was just me, I couldn't do much, right? So I would basically focus on Facebook and of course answering questions on different Facebook groups, as well as posting my blog posts and getting my news, my newsletter out. That's what I would focus on. And I would say to anybody who's just starting, doesn't have a lot of resources, that's where you should focus your attention. And then branch out once you have more capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Because Facebook's been very, very good to me.
Let's go back into suspension. What other things should we watch out for? What do you see coming over the horizon, and what other types of things should we be protecting our account with?
Okay, so what Amazon is cracking down on are several things. One is obviously counterfeit and stolen goods. Mm-hmm. We talked about that earlier, inauthentic, counterfeit. The other thing that they're really cracking down on is, well, there's several, but there's product quality, and there's also listing quality. So product quality is where, people are sending in merchandise that is either not packaged well enough so it doesn't make the journey intact, or it is, crappy to begin with. Like I said, worn, creased, torn, dirty, whatever. And so all of these complaints for product quality, used, sold as new, not as described, not as advertised, these are the words Amazon uses, are all about the fact that the buyer is getting product that's less than perfect. And that is something the seller has control over, right? And so if you start to get these complaints and you're thinking, well, how would I know I have these complaints? Because Amazon doesn't give you a dashboard in Seller Central for it. So that's we call these the hidden metrics, because Amazon doesn't tell you. It's like a secret. And so you have to be reading your returns reports religiously, because that's the only place you're going to learn about it. There, and seller feedback, and the feedback they give you, basically, mm-hmm. and also the messages that they may send you through the email system, and then product reviews. Sometimes they'll give clues in the product reviews. And what people need to know is that the robot, the algorithm, is searching all of those places for evidence of problems. And so when they say to you, or maybe they say to you, your product is expired, right? You're like, what? Who said that? You can go and usually find who said that and maybe get a clue as to why they said that, right? Because you might say, my stuff's not expired. And so I would just tell people that when it comes to product quality issues, 99% of them are perception-based. The buyer has a perception, and you need to fix it. And so that's something that they have been shutting sellers down for, day in and day out for well over a year. That's a big issue. And then the other thing, listing quality is fairly new, but they've really cracked down on this. I had a client a couple weeks ago. They shut down, I want to say that they shut down like 15,000 of his listings.
Holy cow.
Well, they shut down his whole account, but basically they listed 65 that he had to fix, but when we really got in there, there was well over 10,000 that needed to be fixed. So what they were coming after him for, and this guy had been selling for, 10, 12 years on the platform. Right?
This is retail arbitrage that he was doing?
No.
Wholesale?
Yeah. So, but his problem was his listings weren't up to Amazon standards. And a lot of those listings had been created 10 years ago, back when they were not so picky. And so you had, pictures that didn't follow policy, basically. So I would warn people right now, if you create listings on the platform, you better make sure that the ones you create, that they are perfect, because Amazon is cracking down now. And this guy, he got cracked down on some of his listings. I was trying to figure out what was wrong with them, and we had to have a designer look at it and tell us it's not high enough resolution, or the white isn't the Amazon white in the background. And so we were able to fix it.
Let's go into picture terms of service with Amazon on the product list, and what needs to happen with pictures currently.
Okay. So currently, the way they're supposed to be is the picture is supposed to be, your product is supposed to be by itself on a plain white background. It needs to fill up 85% of the space. It needs to be of a high resolution, and they give you specifics of exactly how high. And it needs to be a particular white. And so a lot of the pictures that are up there on the platform today do not match that. And then some of them are way worse. Like some of them you can tell was like taken by a home camera on someone's living room, right? And so with my client, a lot of those listings that they were cracking down on him about were ones he hadn't sold on in years. So we just got rid of them. We deleted them. And so what Amazon is doing is they're cleaning up the platform. They want everyone to either get rid of their old listings that they're not selling on and fix them, or they want them to fix everything. And if you were the guy who originally created that listing, you're on the hook, right? And even if you're not the one who created it, but you're selling on it, you will get a warning, and they will tell you to fix it. And you better take it seriously, because otherwise they're going to take the listing away.
What about text? I know a lot of companies are guilty of doing this, but like text on photos. And I've seen major corporations do it as well. And
it's against policy. Now, some of those really big guys, they do have a different relationship with Amazon. And they actually have, depending on how they work with Amazon, they actually have enhanced listings, and they are paying extra to have some of that stuff, right? But otherwise, you are not allowed to.
Have you ever seen someone get suspended over text on photo? Like, if it was
absolutely, all the time.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. So I will tell people but he's doing it excuse doesn't work. Amazon is like, yep, but you're the one we suspended. So I would just tell you that it's frustrating to my clients because they often think it is okay because their competitors are doing it. And I tell them, look, either the competitors are going to get shut down next, and I'll let you know if they end up in my house, or they've paid extra for that privilege.
Interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of putting text on images. I will say though, it doesn't look like it. I make it look very professional. It's more like this is what the product does. It's specifications rather than it's saying like Mother's Day or something. I don't follow that trend. Huh?
You can't do that. Yeah. So I'll give you some free advice, my friend. That would be something that would be very good to fix right about now because, like I said, the algorithm has been turned on. People are getting suspended for this, and it's new. Like I said, we are starting to just get clumps of people suspended for their images.
The other thing I would say is I actually have seen it with other massive platforms, but they can understand images now with their algorithms. So I'm going to take that advice to heart and go into my listings after this interview.
Yeah. See if you can fix them up. Now, there is some text. Like let's say you're showing an image where you're trying to show the size of something. Like Amazon wants you to do those pictures, right? Where somebody's holding the item, or you might have like a ruler next to it that says, see, it's 12 inches by 12 inches or whatever. That is okay. But what they don't want is, words there. They're saying like, the most amazing thing since sliced bread, or specs, it's this and that by this and that. That's what you're supposed to put in the description, not on the picture.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That is definitely good to know. I'm sure a ton of listeners put text in their images. I think it might have it might be because it's become such a big trend on Amazon. I'm actually not sure of many listens that don't do text on images. At least in the private label realm.
Yeah, there's definitely some people out there who are teaching that you should do that, and I'm just going to tell you they're wrong. And so, but again, what I also tell people is things change all the time at Amazon, and so for a long time they weren't cracking down on it, but not being caught or punished is not the same as it being right. And so what I'm telling people now is they're cracking down on it. So you don't want to be the guy caught for that.
Caught in the mix, yeah.
When you're suspended, even if we can get you back, which we usually can, you're going to lose days to weeks sometimes of sales. It's just not worth it.
Yep. Very true. It's good to know. I'm just thinking right now about my listings, but...
All right, you're distracted.
Yeah.
All right, let me tell you what else is going on while you think about that. So we've talked about listing quality, and that also includes the words that you do use, making sure that you have good bullets, things like that. And then, so they're coming back to people saying, look, you need to fix up these images. And then there's, lately there's been some safety issues, which is really weird. The safety group within Amazon has nothing to do with seller performance. And yet, for some reason, seller performance has suddenly gotten in the business of suspending people for safety issues that are not even safety issues. So here's what I mean by that. I see this a lot with supplements. So you have a supplement, and maybe you take it and it makes you feel funny, maybe it gives you a headache, maybe you feel sick or whatever. And so you complain and you say, oh, it made me sick and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now seller performance may shut down that listing. It's usually just a listing. They may shut down that listing because of a safety issue, right? But here's the thing, that supplement is known to cause people to have headaches or get nauseous, like sensitive people. Like a lot of these supplements, there are known side effects, just like with drugs or anything else. And they're usually mild. And mild is a medical term, as in it's not going to kill you. Otherwise, they wouldn't allow selling that supplement on the platform, right? So the safety department, the group, they already know this. They already allow this. They get it that a certain number of buyers are going to get nauseous. And so the answer to them is, well, stop taking the supplement, right? And then the nausea will go away. So... yeah. It's pretty straightforward, right? Most people are smart enough to figure that out all by themselves. But suddenly seller performance, sorry, all these groups, I get tongue-tied sometimes. For real, yeah. But they have been suspending people for safety issues. And it's weird because these are known safety issues, not, in fact, if anything, they're indicative that the product is actually what we say it is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it
that
really
makes sense.
Does have XYZ in it, or else you wouldn't be getting nauseous. So it's kind of ironic.
Is there certain things that are harder to get unsuspended from than others?
I think the hardest one, there's a couple that are hard, but the hardest one is definitely inauthentic. Because again, so many of my clients, when they come to me, they don't have acceptable invoices. And so, Amazon will turn them down and reject their invoices. So that's really, I tell people, really, really, really look at your inventory and where you're buying it from. And you may have to start buying your inventory from different sources. If you insist on selling merchandise from Marshalls and TJ Maxx and Home Goods, then just understand that if somebody complains, you're SOL. There's not much you can do about it. we can try and help you, and we may be able to get you back on the listing. But if you continue to sell goods from these sources, like, they won't let you come back. You're considered a slow learner at that point. So I can get somebody back from almost anything the first time. But when it happens 2, 3, 4 times, I've had a 5-time offender, no, and they're eventually going to say, look, you're not implementing your plan. You're not doing what you say you're going to do. You're out of here. So that's a really tough one. Another one that's tough is real counterfeit and real inauthentic. Like, here's the thing. When the buyer complains, it's a perception issue. Like I said, 99% of the time, and usually with some time, we can work it out with Amazon, even if you bought from a non-legitimate source. But if they know it's counterfeit, like maybe they've done some testing, maybe they've pulled your product from the warehouse, and you are definitely on the hook for having counterfeit in your inventory mix, that's it, you're done. So you don't get to appeal. It's over. And so, that's a problem.
I think one of the cool things that you brought up was you can usually get out of the first warning/suspension, but after that, I mean, you lose that extra chance. It's like your get out of jail free card.
Yeah, they will forgive almost anything the first time because they understand that people make mistakes, and if you're willing to change, then they want to keep you, right? But if you're not willing to change, then they don't want you. And so that's why we usually are eventually able to get most people back. But we have lots of clients where we're reinstating them 2 and 3 times, 4, 5. It's really hard then. And so when I get someone a second time for the same reason, I definitely give them a talking to. Because if I can get them back the second time, they have to understand that may be their last chance. They have to take it seriously. I had a guy who got banned from the platform. We couldn't get him back because he kept getting suspended for expired goods. And I just couldn't get him to fix the problem. It's not a hard problem to fix, but he didn't do it. And so the third time, I'm like, they're not going to reinstate you.
Can we talk about specific cases without the person's name? A little bit more in detail. We got about 6 minutes left, but if possible, let's go through a few cases and try to understand what they did specifically and what you did to fix it.
Okay. So, when somebody has expired goods, again, sometimes that's a perception problem and it's not actually expired. Sometimes it really is expired. So if it's really expired, that's usually a problem that my client has with managing their inventory and keeping track of dates. And so we help them set up a system where they would be notified if a date was coming up. Like we try to get them in the habit of saying, okay, Amazon wants this removed on this date. I need 30 days to sell it before that date, like to drop my price if I still have a lot of units. And so we set up reminders for them. We help them set up a process internally so that they will keep on top of it and not fall behind on a date, and that they will have their inventory removed from Amazon on time. If it's a perception problem, like the buyer is wrong, usually that's just because they don't understand the date that they're seeing on the bottle or whatever, or on the food is actually a sell-by date, or it might actually be a different kind of date. So we also have ways to help sellers communicate with their buyers what they're getting, so that they understand that actually this product is still good for another 6 months. Like, I'll give you an example. If you buy a bag of nuts by the sell-by date, or a can of nuts or whatever, it's actually good for another 6 to 8 months, right? So that's different than an expiration date. So the actual expiration date on those nuts would be like another 6 months out. But people get confused because they look maybe on the can and they're seeing a date that it was either produced, because sometimes manufacturers put that on there, and that's common, right? Because that way you can figure it out. Oh, this is good for 2 years from this date, right?
Right.
Anyway, so this is the kind of thing where buyers get confused It's the seller's job to help educate them. And so we use tools for our clients to help them do that. And we have processes that we help them implement, stuff like that. And really almost any issue that my client has, we try to help them change their business process so that they can eliminate the problem. Like, I'll give you a really good case study. There was a guy who was getting complaints about his product quality, and he just told us outright that it was liar buyers who just wanted to return it for
the buyers are always lying. I'm telling you.
It's not true. There aren't that many liars. I'm sure there's a few.
They're lying. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but that's what he told me too. And I said, first of all, stop and think for a minute. Why are they returning this product? It's not buyer's remorse. Like, I do see buyer's remorse with really high-end expensive items, but this guy was selling a $20 item, okay? So this is not like that. It's not like they're buying a gold watch and then suddenly was like, shit, I can't do that. I have to pay the mortgage. So this was one of those, what do they call it? Aluminum water bottles, okay? And so I said, listen, just humor me and let's ask some of your buyers why they're returning it. And what we learned is that these bottles were occasionally, not regularly, but occasionally getting dinged in the warehouse. And because aluminum is a soft metal, it would show up to the buyer with a dent in it, right? And so they would return it because they want one that doesn't have a dent in it. And I'm like, okay, so how are we going to resolve this problem? So a piece of bubble wrap, the big fat bubble wrap, wrapped around each bottle, solved the problem. He went from getting a certain number of complaints, I don't remember how many, every week to 0. And I'm like, see, bubble wrap, it wasn't that hard.
That's awesome.
But what he needed to do, and now he does it, when somebody complains, you need to investigate. And I don't mean the first time they complain. You may have a buyer liar if there's 1 or 2.
They're lying.
They're lying. But if there's 3 or 4 or 5, then they're probably not all lying. There may be something actually going on that can be fixed. And that's why I tell people, try to put on your inspector hat and really investigate the situation, because that's what Amazon wants you to do. They want to make sure that product gets to the buyer perfect. And for some of my clients, they have to train their warehouse team, because those guys in the warehouse are just throwing anything in a box. They're either not packing it well enough, or they're not looking at it initially, and they're sending inventory in that's kind of, like I said, worn, torn, dirty, dusty. And they say, they have to know, the boss has to tell them, we'll sell those on eBay.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
eBay, they'll take anything.
eBay's it's the go-to for non-quality goods. No.
Yeah. I know, it's kind of shocking to say that, but it's true, because eBay, they don't care.
Their standards are less,
Yeah, it's the garage sale mentality. New in box makes them happy, because they know they're getting it at a good price, and that's all they care about.
Well, the risk is less too. The volume that comes out of eBay is a lot less than Amazon.
Yeah.
But Cynthia, it was awesome having you on the show. Is there anything you want to say before we cut out?
Thank you for having me. And for the other, I would just encourage people to really know what's happening in your account. There are things that Amazon won't tell you in the dashboard, but you can find out for yourself. And that is something that is covered in my book if people are interested, and that you do have a lot of power. And I don't want people to be afraid that Amazon's going to come after them. There is a lot you can do to prevent it up front.
And what is the book title, and what's your website as well?
Okay, the book is called Suspension Prevention, Get Reinstated and Protect Your Amazon Seller Account. You can find it on Amazon, or you can buy it from me. And my website, I have 2. I have the suspensionprevention.com, which is easy to remember. And then I have online sales, stepbystep.com. So
very cool.
All right.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It was awesome. David Aladdin, Cynthia Stine, out.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you. Today's sponsor is AMZ Secrets Keyword King. What if you could sell 10 more units per day on Amazon, or 100 more units per day? The key to selling more on Amazon is driving more traffic to your Amazon listing that's related to your listing. Reviews help, yes. Quality photos help, yes. However, increasing relevant traffic is king. The only way to sell 100 more units per day is having at least 100 more people visit your listing per day. Keyword King leverages smart algorithms to assist you in building the best keyword lists for all your products. Not only will you hit 5,000 characters total and 1,000 characters per line in the back end for your Amazon listing, you will do so knowingly with the best combination of words. Right now, you might have 3,000 characters filled up, and that's pretty darn good. But you really don't know for sure, and you should actually be at 5,000 characters. It's tiring, time-consuming, and cramped in Amazon's back end. Keyword King performs many tasks on the fly, live, while you are building your list, and ensures your list is as powerful as can be. It intelligently eliminates spaces, duplicate keywords, and other negative things that would hurt your sales. You can save an infinite amount of keyword lists, return to them later, and compare which lists are performing best for your products. Best of all, it allows for a one-click translation of your first and second rows to your fourth and fifth rows in Spanish. Over 55 million potential U.S. shoppers are Hispanic in the U.S., and they type directly into Amazon in Spanish. These keywords are often untargeted and easy sales to add to your bottom line. It does this all while applying smart keyword cleaning algorithm. In the end, organic traffic to your listing is free. Getting free high-quality traffic is the way to build sustainable, long-term Amazon businesses. Keyword King will destroy your competition. Using amzsecrets.com. Guys, I hope you guys loved the podcast as I did. Be sure to join our Facebook Mastermind secret group at amzsecrets.com/FB. It would help tremendously. Also, if you could leave a quick review on iTunes. Every question has an answer for Amazon, and finding the right one is critical to your success. amzsecrets.com does this, and it does it all for free. So why not? See you guys all there. This podcast has been directed by David Aladdin, a global king in logistics, strategy, and secrets. David Aladdin, out.